So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L, and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute, man. And listen, next up on the blacklist, shout outs to that chapter, is the betrayal of Molly Watson. All right, Molly Watson sounds like somebody we all know, right? That name just sounds so familiar to you, right? Oh yeah, you know Molly Watson. Man, I just saw her at work. That name is too familiar, too familiar. So we're gonna get into this video, man. Prepare yourself, all right? And before we get into it, make sure your house is secure, doors locked, alarm on, windows secure, all right? Be careful. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, join the fam, and let's get to it.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this old video, we got a guy, we got a girl, we got another girl, and then cross one of them out. It's mysterious, like the life a certain Addy led. Though, which one? Because he had two lives. You know, some boyos, they once said, all you need is love. Love is all you need. Well, I'm here to tell you today that is a big fat lie. This story, it very closely resembles another story I very recently told. The one of Heather Garris and Sean Nelson. And this one is actually, it's like a mirror image of it. And it's also very just mad. So, what do you say we give it a go? Mexico is our home for the most part today. Mexico, Missouri. Missouri again aptly named. This Mexico is in northeast Missouri, about 2 hours from St. Louis, and is the humble abode of almost 12,000 people. It's a nice friendly city, a strong community, and has good amenities, while also being a quiet little place out of the way of the big smoke. It's a place with more cows than people. So, you know what that means. When the inevitable uprising occurs, they're done for. It has its own little airport, pretty much only farms, and its own little haunted house, you guys, where fake killers will spook ya with brains made of spaghetti and that kind of stuff. Well, here, listen, I'm not here today to talk to you about those fake killers, those wannabes. I'm here to talk to you about the actual bees, real killers.
Hi everybody, it's Molly, and today I am just kind of doing a general vlog.
See, this is what I be saying, bro. This is exactly what I be talking about. You don't see it. Look at her face, fam. Look at her face. She looked like she could have been the candy lady when I was a kid. The candy lady down the block. You would go down there, take your little change you get from your mom and your dad, and go buy candy from this lady. Or she looked like she could have been a school bus driver, a school teacher at that. She looks like, I told you, familiar. You don't see it coming at all.
I don't really have a point to this, except I do want to update on the video game fitness challenge. I had to replace my Wii Fit meter with a new one because I lost it. I have no idea where it went. I don't know if it fell off when I went on a Pokemon Go walk or what happened, but so far today my steps are... I'm
totally clueless on that Pokemon Go. I missed that whole wave. All right, the whole Pokemon wave, you holding your phone trying to find I missed that whole wave. So when she speak Pokemon, I'm lost.
A walk or what happened, but so far today my steps are 5,033.
Dope.
I am 34. I work in education right now.
What'd I say? She can look like a school teacher. Didn't I say that? Telling you, man.
I work in education right now. I have 2 degrees in psychology, a bachelor's and a master's. I'm working on a third degree, second master's in counseling. And I am very much a huge geek. I hate being called a nerd because, as I have always heard it put, nerds know, geeks do. So I'll catch you guys later, and bye!
I didn't know there was a saying. I've never really called nobody a nerd. That was never my thing, but I didn't know there was a saying. I've heard the term being thrown around before. Anybody who's watched Saved by the Bell has heard the term nerd, but I didn't know there was a difference between nerd and geek, and it was a saying that went along with that. Excuse me.
Meet Molly Watson, who on YouTube went by Snarky Snarkster. She was, in April 2013, 35 years old, born on the 15th of December, 1982. She grew up in the city of Moberly, Missouri, not a great distance from our Mexico. She was raised with one brother. She also had a sister who sadly passed away as an infant. She'd gotten married in her early 20s. Marriage didn't last terribly long though. After a couple, they split up. However, she did get a son out of the deal and started dating a woman for a number of years before breaking up with her too. Molly attended Columbia College and studied psychology. She then worked as a corrections officer for 4 years in the Missouri Department of Corrections, followed by an occupation as a substitute teacher while she got her master's in educational psychology. And then, when she wasn't making her little YouTube videos or singing little songs or making costumes, she became a business entrepreneur. Shine Spark Polish, let it be known, designing nail polish collections was her deal. And it was a pretty good one. It seemed to have been taken off. It had a real growing fan base, and she would post frequently on her social media, showing her processes and cooking methods and that. So I don't know anything about nail polish, sorry.
Me neither.
She was, by all accounts, the person she appears as in her videos. Sweet, caring, kind, and loving. And guess what? Molly was happy. She was happy because she was engaged to the love of her life and was getting married at the end of that month, the 29th of April, 2018. Surrounded by her family and friends, she would tie the knot. She was getting married to her boyfriend of 7 years. You know, after all of that, they were like, hey, let's do it. Someone she described in an interview with Color Sutra, the interview about her and Shine Spark, she described her fiance as the most important person in her life, along with her brother. This was one of Molly's last posts on social media, on her Shine Spark Polish Instagram, telling everyone that she's going on vacation. She's getting married and then off to the honeymoon from the 27th of April to the 10th of May.
So where did
Sadly,
So where did we go wrong with Molly? Like he just painted such a nice picture of who she is. Plus we saw pictures of who she is. Everything she's done, everything she's accomplished. Like we see people like that and think, you know, that person has it all. Marriage on the way, on the brink of marriage, business, nail polish, degrees, job. What's missing? Looks like you got happiness. You have a kid. Like, what's missing? That's why I always find myself be like thinking, leading up to us finding out. I'm always thinking, how did this go wrong?
Instead of attending her wedding, her friends and family will be attending her funeral. It was on the 27th of April, right, 2018, that a fellow was driving along Highway 151 and Route, a fellow named Glenn, right? He was looking for a shortcut to his mother's house. This was in a remote part of Monroe County, a county north of Mexico, east of Moberly, a lonely part of the county. Glenn was driving at about 9 p.m. It was dark, and he was taking a shortcut across a low water crossing. As he was driving, he noticed headlights just a little bit further on from the creek, and he saw a car. The car was a 90s, early noughties car. It was facing him. It was a maroon, dark-colored car, and it was just there in the middle of the road. So Glenn, he got out, and this guy got out, and they approached, and Glenn wanted him to see, because this was a small dirt trail, essentially. It was like, is your car stuck? You know, stuck in the mud? The man said, interesting, no. I'll be here a while. And then he said more things to Glenn, but the exhaust on this guy's car was so loud, he couldn't hear jack shit. Glenn then backed up and drove off another way along these like small little routes and trails between the fields and the farms. Glenn thought it was real weird, and so 30 minutes later he drove back that way again, suspicious about the person and what they were doing that night. And it was then he saw another car. In front of it, lying on the ground, was Molly Watson. She was dead.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
I am at the end of Route M of 151, and there's a woman laying on the ground in front of a car. I don't know what the hell's going on here. All right, sir, would you mind if you would get out of your vehicle and check on her? Yes, sir, I will. The ambulance out here. But there's a lady laying in front of the car. I don't know if she's alive, dead, or what. You can check on her and give me an update. That'd be great. Appreciate it. Ma'am.
And you're forgetting one thing. You don't know where the person is that did this to her. You saw it do the first time, but you don't know what's going on. So no, I can't get out the car. I just gave you a lot of information and I'm finna get in my car and secure myself. What do you mean get out and go check? That's just me. That's my, anybody else think like that when they heard them say, can you get out the car and go check on her? No. She's laying there. She's stiff, not moving. I want to get her some help, but at the same time, it's dark down this road, bro, and I don't know what I just rolled into. I should have minded my business is what I should have did and went back. Now I'm knee deep in something. I don't know.
Ma'am. Oh my God. I don't think she's alive, no.
No.
Her eyes are open. I swear to God, she's dead.
She had blunt force trauma injuries, and it appeared she had been beaten to death.
Oof.
But it was later determined she had actually been shot once in the back of the head. It was readily apparent to responding officers that they had a homicide on their hands. She was wearing like PJs, a tank top, no shoes on. It was apparent just by looking at her that Molly did not expect to be where she was. She looked like she'd just gotten up, from the couch when she was watching like TV or something that night, like she had been in a rush to go somewhere. Her phone wasn't there either, so why she was there. But it was from running the vehicle reg, the vehicle Molly's body was next to, that was her car. And it was running the reg that they discovered who Molly was. They were able to identify her right there and then. And in her car, they even found the marriage license. She was ecstatic about it. She had just gotten it 2 days before she was found on that remote road.
So, a person gets married. Now, mind you, normally these cases with this channel is the betrayal of Molly Watson. So you think, and I don't know, things can still change, but you think Molly is the person that did the crime. That's what I was thinking in the beginning. But right now we find Molly dead, and now I'm really thrown off. You know what I mean? I'm really thrown off. But let's look at what we got so far, right? She's getting married. Normally when you hear somebody get married and pass, somebody is trying to benefit from something in the relationship, right? Whether she had a lot of money and it would now go to her supposed husband, newlywed husband, you know what I mean? You start thinking of stuff like that. So that's where my mind is right now, thinking, okay, why does this happen and why did it happen so fast? Or is there more to it?
And the marriage was to a fella named James Addy. Molly had met James when she was a corrections officer in Moberly. James, he was one too. Molly was head over heels for James. He was a little older, 16 years older. But hey, I mean, they stayed together for 7 years, so they were doing A-okay, I guess. Over those years, they went to theme parks, on vacations, everything you would expect for two people who were sharing a life together. James, Jim, a lot of people called him. He was described as a decent guy, a good brother. He had served in the Marines, in Desert Storm. Then he came home, worked as a mechanic, and then as a corrections officer. Marriage, he's quite the fan. He'd been put up to about 4 times. He'd been married 4 times. So it was no surprise he was getting married for a 5th. And he had 2 children, a son and a daughter. Molly's family heard talk about the wedding, like, non-stop. She wouldn't shut up about it, essentially, telling anybody who'd listen. Wow.
Hi everyone, it's Molly. It was bad. This dress, they had all of my measurements and they did not make it right. I am only 4'11". I have some unusual measurements, granted, but any seamstress worth their weight should know that if you have someone with very short measurements, you need to compensate for that.
Her announcement of her marriage to James was of no surprise. But the what's inside of the family, the what's inside of this relationship, they weren't huge fans of James. They'd only met him like a handful of times, and every time that they did meet this James, Jimbo, he was like very standoffish a wee bit, you know what I mean? Didn't like to divulge too much information. When they were getting their marriage license, James said his last marriage had been to a woman named Melanie, and they had been divorced for 6 months by this stage, though separated for years. In fact, a couple of weeks before the wedding, James told Molly that his ex Melanie had just died in a car accident. He'd pulled the plug.
Now, that's a little bit of curveball now once you hear what happened with Molly, finding out that his ex-wife died. So now you hear that and you're like, maybe we need to look into this dude. Why was he married 4 times? He's the common denominator. Something ain't right. And then a lot of times your first instinct about a person ain't bad. It ain't wrong. Somebody being standoffish, you know, maybe they could be an introvert, but you get a feeling about somebody sometimes, a lot of times they tell you to go with your gut.
Okay, so it was a bad timing, you know. His 4th wife dies before he marries his 5th. But, you know, on the day Molly breathed her last, James, he was there. He was helping, you know, he was there with the wedding planner, you know, helping bring decorations and carnations to the wedding venue, getting ready for the big day. All was going according to plan until that night when Molly was found. Tire tracks were discovered along that road too, right beside Molly, in fact, of which pictures and castings were taken. Perhaps would give a clue. She still had a ring on her finger, so she wasn't robbed. And her t-shirt was found nearby. Gunshot residue was on it, and so it appeared that probably the killer had thrown it out, just like Molly's phone, which was found a little bit further along the road.
And then remember, they said she was shot in the back of the head. What we always say about that. You know what I mean? Somebody gonna shoot you in the back of the head. That's somebody has a real anger issue towards you. You know what I mean? Not nobody robbing you, not nobody trying to just take you out. No, in the back of the head, that says something.
The police then had to break the news to James' daddy, soon to be husband. 2 days before the wedding. Poor bastard, doesn't really get much worse than that. He was in for a surprise. And so are the police. As I said, James, he was a big fan of the old marriage. So much so that he couldn't even wait for a divorce to get married again. He was ordering ice cream when he was still eating his steak. When the police rocked up to James Addy's house in our old Mexico, they were a little bit surprised when a woman opened the door. A woman who looked, to James about, she looked about wife age. She was his wife. That's how she introduced herself anyway, as Melanie Addy.
Wait. Say what? Yo, Jimmy John. Like, what? Who just opened it and you was just about to get mad?
His wife of 22 years and mother of his kids. She was supposed to be dead. She didn't look it though. And the news about James' fiance being dead, well, the news of his fiance full stop, that was, well, interesting to Melanie. When James was interviewed by the police, he readily admitted that he'd been having an affair, and in fact, an affair for 7 years, and he was in fact about to marry another woman, while he was still married and living with his wife of over 2 decades. This had been going on for quite some time, and to quote from the affidavit, he said, "I got myself involved in something I shouldn't have." He had 7 years, so I don't get a lack of opportunity to not do what he'd been doing. But, and as a big booty, he said he hadn't been with Molly that night. So, she's dead, Chase. As I said, when Melanie was questioned, she didn't know what they were on about. Or who the hell Molly even was. Never heard of her. James said during this interview, the interview was on the 28th of April, and he said that the evening before, the 27th, when Molly was shot, he had been out driving. He had been out that night. He'd been driving to a friend's house in Cairo, but he drove out there and the friend was not there. Damn! If only there was someone to confirm, give him an alibi when he said he'd been out, and he actually had been out with a friend. They weren't there.
So ping that cell phone. Ping that cell phone. And tell that cell phone tracking device. It's gonna tell wherever you've been.
Looks for him. So the police went to check James's car. And it was in the garage. Melanie said it was odd for James to keep his car in the garage. It was a maroon Mercury Sable. The tire tread matched the tire imprint found at the scene. It also matched what Glenn had seen when he encountered a stranger on the road.
Yep.
Melanie said that James had left the house on the 27th of April at about 7 p.m. He'd been wearing a blue jeans and a black jacket. She wasn't entirely sure what time he returned at because she was in bed. She was asleep when he did come in, so we can assume it was late enough. Plenty of time for him to maybe run into someone on the road at about 9:20 p.m. And then Molly was found dead at about 10 p.m. James's daughter, who happened to be home at the time, did notice what time he came in at. See, she was working on a bit of an school project there, and she was on a deadline, so she was staring at the clock, and she said her dad came in just after 10 p.m. When he came in, he went and did the laundry and then had a wash. The blue jeans and black jacket, what Melanie said he was wearing that day, were never found. And he also had a secret phone he kept secret from his wife, Melanie, and when the police got it, they checked the texts. And James had been texting Molly after she was dead. James was arrested for first-degree murder the day before he was supposed to marry Molly.
And it's interesting. He did it the day before. You done went through it 7 years. What made you decide to do this and say, no, I can't go no more, but I can't leave you alive to be able to tell about it? I'd be interested to know if he confesses and what was going on in your old brain here, if there's anything in there to decipher what he's doing. Sheesh.
The fact that James kept up a 7-year, I mean, it's not even an affair. It's like more than an affair. He was going to get married to this woman. She thought it was insane. How he kept that a secret is fucking bananas. Molly had no clue Melanie was still alive. She'd been told she was dead. That her fiance was living with his wife. Like, neither knew the other was alive or even existed, really. And neither, fair play to him for, keeping it on the hush-hush for that long. I'll give him that. Neither even suspected there was something going on here. Melanie later found a photo album in the attic. A photo album of James's, of all the pictures of him and Ollie, and... well, that'll do it.
In April of 2018, 35-year-old Molly Watson was planning the wedding of her dreams. Her beloved fiance, James Addy. And of course, she had her dress. 3, actually. and even one of those specialty made hangers that said Mrs. Addie in curly metal script. It was to be a beautiful and long-awaited celebration of their love. There was just one small problem. James Addie was already married.
Bro, this is like some real Maury Povich type stuff. Like some real Jerry Springer type stuff. Like what I mean, at this point, the jury just need to start chanting Jerry, Jerry, Jerry.
To his wife of 22 years, Melanie Addie. On the evening of April 27th, 2018, a choice was made. I am confident that the evidence is going to show you that on April 27th of 2018, James Addie made a choice between his two lives. And I am confident that you will return the verdicts of guilty of murder in the first degree and armed criminal action for the death of Molly Watson, the life he did not choose. Thank you.
James denied murdering Molly, but it appeared that when push came to shove, rather than splitting from Molly before marrying her, he just, killed her. He told Molly that his ex-wife had just died in hopes that it might push back the wedding. Push him from having to make a deadly decision. It didn't. And so it was balls to the wall time. The evidence was the tire treads, they matched. The defense said, that's not scientific. The defense just tried to keep up the reasonable doubt angle as they would. They didn't call any witnesses, they didn't call anything. Molly's phone was later found along the road. It showed that as she drove from her home in Moberly to where she was found in Monroe County, she had been on the phone with James the entire time. It also revealed searches she had done, looking for an obituary for Melanie Addie. Obviously, she never found one. So maybe 2 days before the wedding, she was starting to
figure it out. She figured it out. As a woman will do so, bro. They gonna figure it out. They gonna get to the bottom of it. You want to see a good detective? Psh, look to a woman, bro.
suspect something. Maybe she confronted him about it and, the defense's attempts to discredit the prosecution's case was, feeble. He didn't do it, lads, so, don't know what else you want me to say. Whenever the prosecution would call something, their response was, really though? Did that happen? Really? Yes, it did.
Fill in the gaps. That's what the state of Missouri is going to be asking you to do. Not connect dots, not listen carefully, but fill in the gaps for the state. Because the evidence will show that the state does not have proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
This is always weird to me, right? How can a person take on a client where all the evidence points to him, right? And not saying that everybody is always guilty. We're not saying that. I'm just saying, when you take on a client and you know that there's probably a 99.9% chance that he did it, but let's say you get him off, and he goes and he does it again. Should you suffer some of the consequences as well? Just a thought, just a question. Are you then disbarred? Because if you didn't get that person off, the other person that he just went and did it, the next person he went to do something to would still be alive. Or do you just live with guilt? Just thoughts, random thoughts.
In this case, he participated in the wedding planning. He was still paying. He was dropping off decorations. And that's where the state's case makes no sense. At the end of this case, I'm going to get back up, confident that you will find Jim not guilty. Because The state will be asking you to fill in the gaps because it does not have the evidence.
I don't even think this dude believes his own self. He can't.
Does not have the evidence. Putting Jim there. It does not have the evidence that this makes any sense at all.
After 2.5 hours, the jury returned its verdict.
Do I have a foreperson?
Yes, sir.
Okay, would you hand the verdict to the marshal there? Verdict reads as follows. As to count 1, we, the jury, find the defendant, James Addy, guilty of murder in the first degree as submitted in instruction number 6. Verdict reads as follows. As to count 2, we, the jury, find the defendant, James Addy, guilty of armed criminal action as submitted in instruction number 8.
At sentencing, he said this.
Cross-examinations were either negligible or non-existent. Most statements made by the prosecution were neither questioned nor challenged. To me, Molly was perfect in every way that mattered. I would have done anything to make and keep her happy. Smile was everything to me. During the entire course of the trial, I failed to represent anything that I brought forward.
That he loved Molly. He didn't kill her. His defense was worthless and someone else, obviously killed her. And that maybe there had been clues on her social media that someone else did kill her. He specifically mentioned a Facebook post Molly had made a year before her death, in July 2017, saying that someone had tried to get into her accounts. She says, "I suspect it was the unstable individual who attempted to intimidate me with their service weapon by pointing it at me and threatening me when I left the relationship." Who that was? Well, James says it's a killer, and he was sent away for life. And there you go. Another story, of a person leading 2 lives, and then ultimately having to pick one by killing the other. Regrettably, and without it's hard to think of a good reason to kill somebody, but this definitely ain't it. Like, my God, what are you thinking? There's a million ways you could have got out of that situation, James. I don't think killing was a good one. Molly seemed like such a sweet woman. It's a pity she ended up with such a bollocks. Like I said, it's the story of Shauna Nelson, but from the opposite. Instead of a crazy mistress, you got a crazy mister, who is equally as evil. And so ends the story of Addy the Baddie.
Wow. Do you really know? I know, we have to ask these questions, bro. Do you really know the person you with? Is there another life? I ain't trying to break up no homes, man. I'm just trying to keep everybody safe. That's it. But you could tell when she took one to the back of the head that it was gonna be something to that story. And then she was looking up and researching the obituary. She figured it out. Not only did she probably figure it out, she probably confronted him about it. Probably gave facts. People love to give facts. Caught him probably in all kinds of lies and different things like that. And then she probably threatened to go talk to the wife. And that's probably where he lost it at. Because not only was he going to lose Molly, he was probably going to lose his wife as well. And his kid. And at that point in time, probably that's where the decision was made. Yep, right there. If I had to guess. You know what I mean? But y'all get at me in the comment section, man. Let me know what you thought of this. This is absolutely insane. But yeah, let me know what you thought. Stick around and stay tuned. To the next reaction, I'm gone. Peace.